Hello, this is Malorian, this is the Orc Tactical Team, and what I want to talk about today is your command options. Now, this was just something I was arguing with some people on Wars here this week, and I just thought I should really get out there because there's a lot of people that spend a lot of points on your command options. I know there's quite a few people actually out there that no matter what unit you take full command all the time. It's whether it's something that's just for the look or it just seems right that every unit should be having its own banner, commander, and musician. They just always do it. And one of the things you have to think about is even though these each have their own advantages, I mean they're not totally useless, you're not playing points for nothing, you just got to really think about, are you actually getting what you think you're getting out of these points? So this is really going to concentrate on the orcs and goblins, because if you look at some of the older armies where they still don't have the standard 10 points for any type of command, if you're only paying 4 points for a musician, who really cares, right? You could cut out a whole bunch out of your army and you're still not really getting anywhere. But especially with the new books where you're looking at 10 points, bam, bam, bam for each one, these can add up really quickly, especially for orcs and goblins where your other support units are fairly cheap. It doesn't take very much, full command from one unit, boom, that's a troll right there. So let's start looking through some of the different pieces of command that you actually might have in your army. So the first one is going to be, let's just go with the unit champ. So some people like having the unit champ because it has 1 extra attack or something like that, or they think that's a really good thing to have in there for doing challenges. But unfortunately when they do that, they're not really thinking about how they're actually going to use them. They just think, yeah, it's good for challenges, boom, it's in the list. Now, unfortunately, they really have a very limited role, because the real unfortunate thing would be like, okay, I'm being attacked by this unit that has a very combat heavy lord. I want to tie him up and make sure he's only killing my champ. I issue a challenge. Well, what does he do? Well, if he's the same thinking of you, he might just have his own champion that's going to be doing the same thing, and they'll just having champion versus champion, and a complete waste. You did nothing except that both of you just threw points at this. Now, what happens if that he did not take a champ? Well, if they don't have his own champ, the Lord might have to go over and kill that champ this turn, but depending on the situation, all that overkill is just going to mean that this is either a win or a loss, whatever it normally would have been anyway, and then the following turn, it just happens there anyway. So very, very small benefit. Really, the only time that I would actually ever take this is if I'm taking a combat lord. And the reason for that is so that if I have somebody, let's say Grimgore, if I'm taking Grimgore, I make sure that that Blackgore unit has a unit champ. So that if they're trying to tie him up, and especially if I have got it all lined up so he's touching an enemy character, I don't want him to be challenged away. So okay, I'll have him in there so that they make a challenge, he can accept it. But really limited there. That's the only time I'd ever take it. If I ever have something like a mage or something like that, it's really not going to be coming up where this challenge thing is actually going to be saving him. Because, again, like I said, if you have your mage there and they have their combat character and your guy goes and issues, well, that's probably the one time he also has the champ. So it's just going to cancel each other out, and then your guy's dead. You might as well have the 10 points somewhere else to be doing something else. So really the champs, only time I take it is if you actually have a combat lord. Now, the next one that's actually pretty interesting is the musician. So the musician has some uses to it. You get the +1 to rally if you ever flee. If you need a swift reform, it could be a great thing to use as well. But again, I found in my battles that this almost never comes up. The only time I really use a musician is if I'm ever doing some building shenanigans. So whether I'm trying to do the Watchtower Blitz, where in one turn I can swift reform to be very long and then use my regular movement to walk into a building, or if it's something where I need to be avoiding another army, or another unit rather, so I can quickly swift reform and hop into a building to the side to protect myself. But really, I found that this is very situational, and especially for my orcs where I'm going to be all aggressive, I almost find no situations where I'm running away from the enemy anyway. It's really just get in your face and kill. Now, if we're looking at the next part of it, of how you're getting a +1 to rally, this is also something that's very, very minor. let's say you break from combat. Well, first of all, there's a very high chance that you're going to be caught. It's basically 50-50. I mean, it really depends on what units they are, whether one's fast cav and all that stuff, or has bonuses such as Skaven or negatives, but let's just say it's 50-50. Now, the next 50-50 is whose turn was it? Because if you broke during your own turn, so you charged in, you lost, you fled, and aha, I got away, well, who cares? Because now it's his turn, and now he can charge you right away and either maybe send you off the table or catch you. So really, in this whole situation, we're looking at maybe 25% usefulness, and even then, let's say that is the perfect time where you broke away, it was on their turn, so now it's going to be your turn. Usually, what do you have in your backfield? You have your general and your BSB. So unless a 9+ re-rolled isn't good enough for you, why are you taking this musician? Of course, the other one is if you ever tie combat, then you win. Or rather, if somebody doesn't have a musician, then you would be the winner. And again, this is very, very situational. I find that, of course, with Orcs and Goblins, it's all very kill, 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 kill. I never see it with my Hordes and my Black Orcs or my Savage Orc Biggins that I'm finding a combat that's going to be very, very close. This just doesn't really happen. Usually I'm winning by 6 or 7 or something like that, or I'm against something where I'm completely outclassed and I lose by a whole bunch. Something where you might be having a really attrition type unit. Maybe you decided to go for something with some like a shield orcs, not biggins, that are really going to try and just like eke out a win type thing. Sure, maybe I can see something going on there, but again, really rare. And then what happens if you don't have this? Let's say it's a tie and it turns out you didn't have a musician. Big deal. Then like I said, you're having that leadership 8 re-rolled. Does it really matter? No, I just held anyway. Now, of course, some people brought up, well, what happened if this happened on your Frenzy unit, right? What if your Savage Orcs would have lost, and now all of a sudden because of this, well, now you've lost your Frenzy, and now you're screwed the next turn. Well, guess what? This is Orcs and Goblins. You've now lost your Choppa banner, or bonus. So if you just got a tie when you had +1 strength, guess what? Next turn, you're going to be losing anyway. So it's not really that big of a deal. So again, the musician, I'm not really a big fan of. Now, the next one is actually the banner, and this is one where I had to actually, when I was getting into this argument, I had to kind of reflect on myself, and I had to say, you know what, I take too many banners as well. So let's look at your standard game. Whether it's 2,500 or 3,000 points, you need to have 3 points to lose. So you have to be somehow over the 3. So what are you going to have in your army? You're going to have your general worth 2, and you're going to have your banner worth 1 more. So all you really need is 1 more not to lose. So whether this is on your really offensive unit or it's on your bunker, it doesn't really matter. You just need 1 somewhere in there. Maybe 2 just to be safe. If in my regular list, maybe I'm going to have my general, I'm going to have my BSB, and then I'll have it on my savages, and I want 1 on my Black Orcs to give them the flaming banner. So right there, that could be safe. But if that was enough, okay, I'll put 1 on my savage unit or maybe my bunker. Alright, there you go. Nice little safe thing to do. Now, some people think, well, wait a second. What if they just run up and they just kill your general, they kill your BSB or something like this, and boom, they win? Well, really, look at your games. And how many of your games where you lost your general and your key characters did you actually win anyway? Does it actually matter that you're losing automatically? You're almost kind of just, instead of just trying to deny the inevitable, you're just getting straight to it, right? Okay, boom, I've lost my key characters, I'm gonna lose anyway, and hey, look, in this mission, I do lose automatically. Of course, no, I don't know what the actual stats are, but the number I threw out was I would estimate that around 85% of the time when you lose all your key characters, you've lost the game anyway. So there you have that. So when you look at all this, you also got to find a way of how you're going to be expanding it across the entire game of all your armies, right? If you went through across, saying in your army where it's going to have about an average of 4 to 5 blocks, and each of these had full command or near to it, you can very quickly get up to something like 150 points that's being spent just on command, just for these very situational things are going to come up. Now, of course, of this, you're going to need at least to have that 1 banner so you don't automatically lose in Blood and Glory. But apart from this, all the rest of those can be spent on something else. So this is the example I liked using. If you had this, and you had one army that had all this command, and then you had the other army that had a unit of 3 chariots, which one is going to do better? You have your unit with that's the army that has the 3 chariots, which will have an effect every single game, or you have the other one with a whole bunch of command, which will maybe come up 1 in every 8 or whatever games, right? I don't know about you, but I would rather have the 3 chariots, which I can depend on every game to having a solid effect. Something else you could look at it as, alright, well, you got this combat res inside as part of those things, right? You're getting the 1 from the banner, maybe 1 from the musician. Well, again, full command in a unit is 35 points for orcs and goblins, which is the same as a troll. A troll that has 3 strength 5 attacks and a strength 5 stomp. Don't you think that those are all at least going to be getting 1 combat res, if not more? And then you have all the extra bonuses, right? The troll is one of the best throwaway units apart from like the saber tusk. I would rather have that single troll than that musician that would sometimes help me out, and the banner and the champ that only sometimes help me out. I'd just rather have that troll, which I know would always be a help to my army. So just something to really look at your own army, just look at it, all the command, look at all the points you're spending on that command, and try and think if there's anything else you can be spending it on that actually have a much greater effect for your army. So there you have it. Take a look at your army, try things out. I know for myself, I'm going to try dropping more banners. I've already don't take champs, except for that, unless I have like Grimgore or something. I already don't take musicians ever since I decided to not be a jerk and not do the Watchtower Blitz. So I'm going to be trying to cut out banners. You try it too, and let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching. Bye.